Hello, everybody. Suzy Woo here. I'm a metaphysician, astrologer, psychic medium. If it's cool and it's woo-woo, I do it. Welcome. So this is our weekly little meetup that we have for astrology, for learning astrology. And we've got some people who are still coming in. And if you'd like to join this every week, um, you can do that. I think I've got a link on my website now. Oops, there's more people in the waiting room. Sorry, guys. Admit. Oh, here you go. Okay. So if you'd like to join us, I'm pretty sure that I have a link on my website. Oh boy, we've got a lot of things going on. All right. In the skies. Holy cow. Solar flares. We've got coronal mass ejection arrival, and the Schumann resonance is spiking. So boy, oh boy, how are you guys feeling? This is very intense. We are going through some super intense times. And I've noticed like I have a Facebook group. And if you've ever had a session with me, then you can be part of that Facebook group. The only thing that's in common is that you've either attended an event or you've had a session with me. Anyway, um, so we do this every week. And then I post it to my YouTube channel, which is where you guys are watching this now, after I've obviously recorded and uploaded it. So today, everybody's talking about the Pope dying. So I'm not going to do that because I just don't like to follow trends. But I always have something to say about it, which in my group I did. The Queen dying, that's good because evil empire. And as soon as I say that, what I see behind my closed eyes is what everybody has forgotten about. There was a naked child descending out of a window of, what would that be, Buckingham Palace, where the British loyalty or royalty are. Okay, what is that telling you? Like everybody seems to have forgotten that. Like these are the elites that do horrible things, okay, which we're not going to get into. Now, I know psychically, I know that there is also I mean, this is the end of an era, like a 20,000 year phase. It's very, very powerful, very important. And it is the fall of the corrupted masculine energy. And so what do we have today? We have a bunch of men who don't have a healthy role model. And so what things have to go like an ebb and flow. There's a rise and there's a fall. It's kind of like you can't only exhale, you have to breathe in too. And so this is the same with our earth. It's the same with you as an individual. You can't always be on all the time or you're going to suffer burnout. You're going to suffer health consequences. This is the natural rhythm of life. Okay. So like we all have a personal hibernation period. In astrology, your hibernation period is when the sun is going through your 12th house. So um let's bring up a chart. So let me find a chart here. Actually, I messaged somebody last night asking if she would allow me to do her chart for her, and I will see right now if she responded. Mm, Okay, so she's going to be on board for next week. So let me pull up somebody else's chart that I can use as an example. And it's going to be an anonymized chart just to protect people's identity. And if you would like to be one of the people whose chart I read as an example, then you could always just reach out and email me and let me know. All right, so I should have sample. How about example? Bear with me a moment. Let me see. Or somebody with a very common name. For some reason, I'm hearing the name James. So I wonder if somebody who is joining us is thinking of somebody named James, because my intuition has just been flying off the charts. And that would be the same for you guys too, by the way. So I'm going to find a James in my database here. And I don't know who James is, but it's somebody who I've done a reading for in the here. James. All right, good. And they're not a minor. Okay, so let me share the chart of this James with you. And we're going to do a demonstration. Now, this person, I need to change. I'm going to edit this chart. So the time of birth is extremely important because that is what actually sets up the whole chart. So let's say this person was born at 2 in the afternoon. And now I'm going to save this chart as James sample. And if you're interested in the software that I'm using, like I don't get any kickbacks or anything, but it's called Time Passages. It's super simplistic, extremely affordable. This is where I began. I think the app has a free version to get your feet wet. And then this was, years ago, because it's where I started. But now I bought all of the modules, so I can do compatibility, I can do relocation charts. And then there's really expensive softwares too. But I like basic, even though I did get the expensive one. It's actually too overwhelming for me to figure out. All right, so let's see here. So we're going to read this person's chart, and I just got to check. So if you know anything about house systems, there's two different house systems that I like to use. My favorite one is Placidus, but then there's also whole sign houses, which today I'm not going to be getting into that. Okay, so let's read this chart. The first thing we do is we look to the sun. The sun is in the 9th house. Actually, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about your hibernation period. So I think I already saved it. So what we're gonna do, well, let's do some surface work. We can see that this James is a Virgo rising. Now, your rising sign is how a puppy needs to grow into his paws. It's something that we have a natural ability to, but it's slightly hidden from us. It's kind of in our blind spot. And I can tell you that every Virgo rising has a degree of anxiety because Virgo is one of the anxious signs, and it rules the skin. And so people might pick, and then at the extreme, cutting. Okay. Now the rising sign is what governs the first house, which is my packaging. A lot of astrologers will say it's the mask that we wear. I don't actually care for that. It is how we present ourselves to the world. That's what your rising sign, it governs over your body's physical constitution. And so I taught a class at Lilydale about it's pretty much, you can tell from a body type what somebody's rising sign is. I get this in my head before I can say it. It looks like in my head 89% accuracy. And so that, for example, it's good to use examples. People who have a Gemini rising are usually very tall and thin. Okay. That's an example. Use a lot of times a Cancer rising, if it's a woman, they're going to have pretty big breasts. Um, it's just the way that it is. Okay, now I can see here in the fifth house, James has a moon at 0 degrees of Aquarius, enhanced. But this is interesting because the person I wanted to do the reading for has this same little uh, combination, but in a different sign. Now, the moon is being enhanced by Jupiter. Jupiter is like a magnifying glass. It enhances anything it touches. And so James's fifth house is magnified. But even deeper than that, Jupiter is enhancing James's moon. And what is the moon? It's our emotional temperature. It's our temperament. And guess what? This is also a sign of anxiety. Aquarius is the nervous system. So I know for this example called James that they're going to have anxiety when they're young, and that most likely they have health issues. But now I need to tell you, there's more evidence. There's more evidence. So you never make a judgment based on one thing, or else you're going to super suck. There's got to be 3, 5, 7 things that all point to a similar. It's not a, what do you call it? Set of circumstances, let's say. All right. So the sixth house is the health house. It's also what we do on a daily basis. And your health is your wealth. So in this chart, this is all Pisces energy. And Pisces is the immune system. This is, I would say it's slightly complex, but I don't want you to worry about that because I'm going to explain it all to you. And if you'd like to learn how to do this, that's what these free classes are for. But I'm also offering a giant but beginners level 1, 2, and 3 all in one offering. You get to choose if you want to go 10 weeks, the nuts and bolts in the language, or there's a middle tier, or the big one is 28 weeks. So we're going to be running once a week for 2 hours. We start at the end of May and run all the way until December. And that if you take the full 28 weeks, you're going to know how to do what we're doing right now. It's so cool. What I really love is using astrology for psychological profiling. It also shows you health, wealth, vocation. It's your recipe card. This is very, very powerful stuff. You can use it for parents. Every parent should know their child's chart. If you're a teacher, if you're a practitioner, if you have to work with people, if you're an HR, human resources manager, you want to get their psychological profiling. So this is like a different way of like the Myers-Briggs personality test. You learn how to read this language, and it actually goes way deeper than that, okay? Because the Myers-Briggs is self-reported. This, they can't hide anything. Everything is right here. It's an open book. So that now I just need you to also know that this James, I have altered this chart and put a time on it. So this is not now tied to whoever James is in this database. It is clearly a sample because I changed the time. Okay. All right. Now, I know that James has anxiety that stemmed from his childhood because the rising sign is when you drew your first breath. The fifth house has the moon in it. The fifth house is creativity, children, like offspring. It's performances. It's taking the center stage. This is where a person shines. And it's also a house of self-employment. And so we've got Jupiter enhancing both. Oh, also Jupiter's retrograde. See the little RX? So any retrograde planet is going to be far more internalized. And when you have Jupiter retrograde, whatever this sign, in this case Aquarius, and then the house where I shine is more introverted and felt deeply, intensely inside. So this is not real good because you're so we have anxiety in the rising sign. The moon is a detached moon. The moon is our emotions. Aquarius is an unemotional sign. Aquarius people, stop touching me. Stop. I'll love you from over here. Stop touching me. Jupiter is right next to it. So now it's more extreme. And Aquarius is very intuitive, but it's like a hard knowing. I just know it in the pit of my gut. I know it to be true, and it'll always be correct. So this so far is going to be somebody who's slightly, don't move in too closely. This is definitely feeling rather introverted so far, based on all that I've shared. And then I'm also going to now layer on, there's some health stuff going on, which also stemmed from childhood. Why? We look to the sixth house. It's got Pisces in it. First of all, the sign on the cusp, the yellow zigzags, that's Aquarius. Now, we just got done talking about Aquarius because the moon is in Aquarius, and then Jupiter is making it bigger. Now, you see this brown H here? That's Saturn. That 29 degree is an anaretic degree. So when we have anything at 0 or 29, that is an alarm. It's not comfortable. And oftentimes it will bring up crisis. The 29 degree will bring up crisis. So 0 and 29 are the beginning and the ending of each sign for a total of 30 because we count 0 as 1. So that's 30 degrees. If you have something in 0 degrees, you're all thumbs. It's like when Mr. Bean gets dropped from heaven into the attic or whatever it is in the beginning of the TV show. And I don't know where I landed. I got to figure all this out. That's a 0. 29 is the end of it. And the end of a sign brings up the shadows. It's what didn't I figure out? It's now or never. I can't pass go and collect $200 until I work through these issues. Okay. Now, 29 is right here. Saturn is 29 and retrograde. Saturn also represents the father figure, and the moon represents a lot of times the mother. So this tells me this parental setup was sheer crisis. Horrible, unhealthy, and gave this person a great degree of anxiety. And maybe they chose to simply withdraw and not feel their feelings. So far, only based on what we've shared, this may be an introverted, cold person who is very bitey. I don't care what you think. And we all know somebody like that. All of my best friends were Aquarius. Aquarius energy, Aquarius people have balls of steel. And because I was born a yes person, a people pleaser, and a sensitive, I never spoke up for myself, ever. And I was just sensitive. And I needed these balls of steel, which is the opposite sign. So I'm a Leo. The opposite is Aquarius. and you hear that phrase, opposites attract, it's only when there's an imbalance. So I lack what you have. I want to be friends with you and hope that you rub off on me, or you have something that I need to learn. And that's not things that we do on a conscious level, but it is what happens. Okay. All right. Now, when we have Saturn father retrograde, that father figure usually was unavailable in some form or fashion. Now here it's at the last degree of Capricorn, and Capricorn is CEO, workaholic. So most likely this is an unavailable father because they worked their ass off and wasn't home. So they just weren't there in this person's childhood. And there may have been a separation. And the mother, how we experience our mother is the moon. Moon's lots of things. So the moon is 0 degrees of Aquarius. That's aloof. So this is 2 unavailable parents that this person has severely internalized. And how do we know that? Because Jupiter is retrograde and it's enhancing both of these energies. And how can I say that? Because Saturn is at the very end degree of its sign, and 1 degree later is the moon, 0. That's 1 degree away, the 29th degree of, pardon me, Capricorn. The very next degree is 0 Aquarius. And Jupiter is enhancing both of those. So this person may decide, I am going to be a comedian. I am going to be a songstress, a musician, and I am going to write about how I had unavailable parents and I needed to parent myself. Now I could actually go 1 level further there. What is the sign on the door or the cusp of this person's 5th house? It's Capricorn. Ouch. So what this now, Capricorn is a dry energy. So what this now means is I, client James, had a very dry childhood that was over disciplined, cold, staunch. I had to grow up at a young age, or I had a parent my parents. That's what that means. So here's one thing that you can always know will be true. When you see Capricorn on the door to the 5th house, that tells me you had a tough childhood. You either had to parent your parents or else you ran away. You took care of yourself at a young age. Maybe you needed to take care of younger siblings because both your parents were, maybe they were both working or whatever was going on, they were unavailable. Maybe the mother has her own psychological issues, nervous system issues, psychosis even. So whatever reasons, we know that this person has definitely had a rough childhood. They never had a chance to be a child. So we know this. All right, now, moving up to the 6th house, this horseshoe, this is the South Node. So now what the South Node represents is what you were really good at in a past life. And then in this lifetime, it's going to be your comfort zone. Well, so you do look to the shadow side. The shadow side is escapism. And so this now is going to add to the mix. This problem is probably a gamer or a drinking or a drugging or any means to escape, or they pour everything that they have into being a very good employee. Why? Because that is what the 6th house is. It's my job. It's not my career. It's what I do on a daily basis. Every day I wake up at 8:30, I take a shower and I go to work and I work for somebody. That's the 6th house. Career is 10th house. Self-employment is both 3rd and 5th houses. Okay. Okay, so now what do we got next? Chiron, the key here, that's at 6 degrees of Pisces, that is what got shut down on this person at a very young age. So now everything just may have taken a big different spin. It's in the sign of Pisces. Doris, are you drawing on my chart? I'm seeing your name show up and there's these red lines popping up on my screen. um, okay, so the sixth house. So what got shut down on this person in the sign of Pisces? That's a spiritual wound. Well, what I would surmise so far with this combination is this person lost somebody very dear to them. And it may have been either one of their parents. How did I get to that? Unavailable father at a critical degree. That feels like it has more weight to it. The past life, this person is very gifted in oh the this person is very gifted on a spiritual level. Now, I have a story for everything. So when somebody has Chiron, I'm moving from the past life, the south node, to the key, which is only 6 degrees away. When somebody has Chiron in the sign of Pisces, you think of a kid who is old enough to talk, barely. And let's say grandpa is in hospice and grandpa is dying. He's transitioning. And grandpa comes to James, and James only toddler who only knows he can talk, and that's it. So grandpa says, however it shows up, I'm your angel now. I'm going to guide you. I love you. I'm always going to be playing with you, but you're not going to see me in this body anymore. I'm your angel now. So 2-year-old James, that's fine. But now let's say James's parents are very strict Roman Catholics, which don't believe in reincarnation and think that it's evil to talk to spirit. Although, what do you do when you're talking to Jesus, which is a dead guy? Okay, to me, that's hypocritical. But anyway, so let's say James now wakes up all excited because he all of a sudden has a new angel on his shoulder, and he tells mommy and daddy, strict Roman Catholic, scare the bejesus out of James by saying, "Oh, no, no, don't ever talk like that again. That's evil." Well, this sweet little James has no clue, right? It's just what they know, and grandpa's safe. And all I was doing is telling you what grandpa told me. And so what happens is this horrible wave of rejection and shame happens to 2-year-old James. And he is devastated and mortified. So now he doesn't know what's safe to say, what's not safe to say. That's a spiritual wound. And that's what James has. Because Chiron in Pisces, that's spiritual. And that's just one example. There's other examples, but that's a pretty good one. Now, the fact that his past life is also in Pisces, this is somebody who's already a healer to me, because Pisces, well, there's more, because Pisces is very, very pure. And Pisces energy sees the good or the gold or the God in everyone and everything. And so this is the energy that people call naive and gullible, all that kind of stuff. But it's so gosh darn pure. I absolutely love it. Um, but the downside is you trust people you shouldn't trust. And why? It's because you see the potential. You just see, oh, it's so wonderful. But then when they're talking to me like this, I'm going to forgive them because I know that they're innocent. And so you can see how that could kind of lead to entrapment, manipulation, attracting people who are just going to gobble you up for dinner. All right. And then if this person lost a parent, let's say the father tragically passed away, big crisis. Why? Because it's at a 29 degrees there of Capricorn. Dad might have been a CEO, a leader, a builder, because Saturn also rules builders. And let's say he had a tragic accident and a building, fell on him or something. So that's going to be extremely traumatic. But now maybe he might have foretold that. He might have an awareness that maybe he was dreaming about seeing his father in angelic form or spirit form or something like this. And so after whatever the tragedy happens, that maybe his father is now his best friend in the spirit world. These are different ways this can show up. So one of the things that's going to show up now with this example is he was shown at a young age never to go there. Don't talk like that, because that wave of rejection, it's kind of permanent until there's a niggling about it that says, I need to dig back into that. And then the level of fear will vibrate and la 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 la. And you always have a choice point. Am I gonna kind of rehash that and explore what I know to be true that my parents said was bad? And now you start to question, am I evil because grandpa came and told me he was going to be an angel? And then my father tragically died. Is it evil for me to want to talk to my father? Is it a crime? Am I going to spin on a wheel burning in hell if I consult a medium? So these are going to be the fears until James realizes I'm a natural born medium. I'm a natural born healer. And I'm going to question the church because I have feelings and knowings about things. And this is going to be, so whatever your south node is, which is this horseshoe, you're going to have it in a particular sign. You've got a 1 in 12 chance of it being in, Pisces here. But then it's also in the house. So it's in a particular area of life. So if you don't have your birth chart, I do have a free birth chart generator on my website. So you just go to suzy-woo.com and pull it up. I forget what it's under, services maybe, menu of services, and then there's a free birth chart generator. You put your stuff in there and it'll give you your chart. Take a screenshot or print it and bring it along when we do these weekly free teachings. It's so much fun because, of course, you should know your chart. It's fascinating and it's never ending. There's always going to be more that you discover when you're looking at your own chart. It's a thrill. Okay. And also, this is not a life sentence either. Even though a chart looks static, because it's a snapshot of where everything was when you took your first breath, there's still variances because this is this is it's your blueprint. And so you could be operating from the shadow side of any of these or any combination of these. And the goal is to identify that, release it, and ascend into the higher vibration of these. It's so exciting to see, what am I here to do? Purpose, potential, vocation. What about finances? What about relationships? Where am I meant to live? All this stuff can be derived from a birth chart. I can't love it more. I'm so in love with astrology. Okay, where else? So Chiron and the past life are very together. Now, what that means, he's an expert at this Pisces stuff. Pisces is spirituality. Sometimes it's religion, but not hard lines. So I guess it depends on the religion. The fact that Chiron is right next to his past life means he's going to have a lot of stuff that he has to learn how to break through. So conditioning that he will need to learn to break through so that he can graduate in this lifetime. And boy, is this strong, because how I interpret your north node is going to be an insatiable thirst, but it's also when you learn how to balance your South Node and North Node, that's how you graduate in this lifetime. So for James to graduate, he must weave what got shunned, shut down, taken away, blamed. Oh my God. So another thing that could have happened, the father suddenly died and the mother gave up. So let's say James is an only child. And he gave up. Mom gave up. And so now mom is negligent of James's needs. She's mentally checked out. Her nervous system is shot, and he has to pretty much raise himself. Go one level further, mom might blame James for the father's death. Maybe the father was leaving work to go pick James up because he had a headache at the nurse's office at school and something tragically happened. And the mom either directly or indirectly blamed James, or maybe whatever. So this is very powerful, very deep into the psyche. And what is James here to do in this lifetime? How's he going to graduate? He must break the seal of this. He must break the seal of spirituality, of the fact that when a human transitions out of their meat suit, when their soul departs their body, that goes on forever. They'll be back. That's part one. And here is where he needs to go. And this is very, very powerful. The North Node is at 0 degrees of Virgo. Okay, there's that 0 now. That's anxiety over what? 12th house matters. What are 12th house matters? Spirit, endings, closings, people dying, isolation, retreats. Here's another spin on this. The father might have been killed in action in the military. A lot of times Saturn is that kind of thing. The 12th house is institutions. So the father may have died in like a VA place or something like that. Okay, anyway. And so Pluto, which is this dude right next to the North Node in the 12th house, to me, that symbol of Pluto, and you call the symbols glyphs in astrology, I kind of feel like his arms are up, like, woo! So it's kind of like victory. Pluto is teeny tiny. And you know, he was demoted to like a planetoid or an asteroid or something. He is freaking dynamite. And dynamite comes in small packages. Pluto is extremely powerful. Think of plutonium, which now makes me think of Marvin the Martian, right? Oh, the Q-32 space explosive space modulator. Oh, I love that guy. Okay, so this guy, James, is here to not off himself and instead learn how to work with his anxiety. Anybody who passes away, it's never anybody else's fault. And that is a very tough pill to swallow when you're a child and everything, you're very impressionable and you do tend to absorb what's around you because you don't have the wherewithal to simply observe. You absorb it. And you overhear, you know, parents talking. And of course, this is the nature of children. And so he is here to beat death, replug into his spiritual abilities, and communicate. Now, this is also the dream house. The 12th house is the dream, sleep, dreams, prayers, and meditation. And he is here to communicate with the dead. So he's a natural born medium, but his early years will have thwarted that with enormous emphasis. Don't do that. That's the work of the devil. Big. And why am I saying emphasis? Because his past life is there, and what Chiron is what got shut down. So he was born knowing. He might have had a prophecy that his dad wasn't going to live to be old. And what if he told his parents that? That would make him freak out, right? So he might have gotten severely punished for that or isolated. Um, okay, so James is here to balance sixth house. Don't be a martyr. You're here to balance how much you give, which how much you're allowed to let go of and transcend. And then step into your Pluto power in the sign of Virgo, that's health. So now he might be a medical medium, the next medical medium. Now the sixth house is health. So he's born that way. He might see, smell, hear, feel, taste, illness, or even death in people. And that's, I was going to say it's a gift. You might not think of it that way, but you might have, so this would be a wonderful, wonderful at a death doula, which is a beautiful, beautiful position, job, vocation for somebody like James. Now, some people, especially those with Catholic guilt, have been taught to fear death. But I just want to re-point out, within that religion, Jesus was a human being who got murdered and rose and celebrated for that rebirth. But he's rebirthed because he's gone home to be with the Father, okay? In astrology, think of the sun. Okay, what's the sun? The sun is the Father. All right, but in the religion, the son is the son of God. And so Jesus dies, right? His spirit rises, and we pray to Jesus. But in the Catholic religion, they have nixed out anything about reincarnation and summon you, damn you to hell, if you don't sacrifice yourself. Okay, so I'll just leave that with you because I don't want to get on that soapbox because I sure can. Okay, so let's now move to this eighth house. And I always tell you this, but the eighth house, anything in the eighth house means this person has had trauma because the eighth house is governed by Scorpio. Now we can look at what kind of trauma. Venus. Venus is relationships. Now I'm going to look to the relationship house, which is the seventh house. Uh-oh. James's seventh house is ruled by Pisces. So the first person that James super, super connects to is going to be an addict. They're going to be an alcoholic. They're going to be an escape artist. They're going to be somebody who never owns up to anything and who is just this shapeshifter. And I don't know, and I'm going to blame you for everything. And everything you say, well, I'm going to say you said this, and I might try to gaslight you. And so he's going to have, and why would that happen? Wow. It's because he had an aloof mom. I just love how it all weaves together. It's beautiful. The language, it's poetry. It's amazing. And so we know that he's going to have issues around relationships. And even his partner may have become violent. Why? Because Venus is in Aries, which is violence, especially when it's in the eighth house. So what we can maybe put together is he so desperately needed to be nurtured and loved that he went to the first person that gave him comfort, only to realize this person is an alcohol addict, or any kind of addictive escapism tendencies, and who is definitely not there for me, and I can't hold on to him because you cannot grab a fistful of the ocean. Pisces rules James's seventh house. And that's going to be what you attract in the shadow. And this also governs your first marriage. Um, what else? Now the sun is up in the ninth house. And this is good. So we love this because this kind of help. Well, what it does is it gives James a wonderful sense of humor. Why? The sun is in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is a trickster. So now you can imagine James as a little kid. All right. He's got unavailable parents. He has to take care of and raise his self. He does not have nurturing. He doesn't have the care that he requires. And he was born anxious. But he's also sweet. And how do we know that James is sweet? And this is so interesting because by accident, there are no accidents. One of our friends who's online, Doris, drew these red lines. And if you look at these red lines, she didn't do it on purpose. But if you look at these red lines, they are bracketing in the yellow part of James's first house, which is in the sign of Libra. Libra is the peacekeeper, the nurturer. Not so much a nurturer. It's the glue. So this is the kid in the middle of fighting parents that absorbs everything. And no matter where he goes, when shit hits the fan, he automatically says it's my fault. I did this because he has now been conditioned. No matter what happens, it's my fault. And so many children fall into that. Parents don't even know because the child is used as a pawn between the parents. Oh, tell me, what's dad doing? Does he have a girlfriend? Blah, 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 or whatever. But that kind of thing, and it's way too common, but it's so damaging. But this is what is building the psychological profile. Just so gosh darn fascinating. Okay, now that's why he's sweet, because Libra is sweet. Now the shadow of Libra is narcissism. Guess what? So is the shadow of Virgo. So let's just hold on to narcissism for a minute. We've got this cold Aquarius energy, including the moon, emotionless. Ooh. So this is somebody who can turn and become very controlling, very cold, but who's a good salesperson. Why? Because Gemini is a great salesperson. So they were a trickster in their youth because they had to use humor to cover up their pain. And I'm being brought to Jim Carrey. I do not recall the childhood of Robin Williams, but if you think of just Tears of a Clown, right? The class clown, they're acting out because there's some problems at home. Okay. All right. So the sun in the ninth house is governed by, I don't want to be confusing, but the ninth house is ruled by the energy of Sagittarius. And so this is its opposite. The sun in Gemini naturally loves the third house: commerce, sales, sense of humor, technology. So now I'm going to guess that this person loves like Zelda. That's the only, I had some kids in the house and they always talked about Zelda. So like mystical games where you travel to other worlds. So we have escapism, we have potentially cold narcissism, and that they have to figure out their shit or they're going to be humbled to their knees by who? 11th house, because there's stuff here. I wouldn't talk about it if there wasn't something there. This is Leo. Leo is pride. Well, Mars is in Leo in James's chart, and Mars is in Leo today. So that's good. It means I fan my own flames and I can make a great impression to people that I aspire to. So I kind of like that. The 11th house is wealth, our biggest dreams, goals, and aspirations. It's who we aspire to that might show up with a blank check one day. So this is who you rub shoulders with. And it's your house of friends. Now, the planet Uranus is here at 22 degrees Leo. That's my son, not my child, but my SUN. I am a 22-degree Leo. So I would be a great teacher and a mentor for James if this was his actual birth time and so forth. Anyway, so these two planets, both in Leo, that is leadership. So he needs to connect with people who are where he wants to be and who are different, eclectic, but gosh darn authentic. Now, why am I saying those words? Because that's what Uranus represents. I don't care what you think of me. This is who I am. And he was born with that because of the tragedy, the problem that happened in his childhood. I don't care what you think. I have a friend, a childhood friend, who later in life, the truth to me came, and she's an Aquarius. The truth to me came out. She was very bitter. She was very cold. And she didn't give two shits what you thunk, what you thought. But come to find out, her father was molesting her. And you don't know what you don't know. Right. And so that is, you close down and you're very bitter and you avoid relationships. So that kind of a thing is also a potential of this chart. We have violent relationship and or female, because Venus are feminine, trauma. And then Uranus is unpredictable. And but it's also higher mind. Uranus loves to be in this house. And then Mars is how I go after what I want. So in this chart, James may use his sales tactics that he's natural. He is a natural salesperson. He can smile and rob you blind. But just because you're a salesperson doesn't mean you're a bad person. There's good salespeople who are intuitively aligned that that are not necessarily snake oil salespeople. And by nature, Gemini rules his career house. So he'd be a real good technology salesperson, actually car salesperson, because those are the things that Gemini rules: phones, technology. And Mercury is James's ruling planet. Mercury rules over Gemini. So we have to look at the health of it. What is the health of it? His Mercury is in a water element. So now it's way harder for him to articulate out loud, because when you have Mercury in a water sign, you have a beautiful soft voice. So it's going to be a soft voice that I might have to struggle to hear. And I know now the whole blending, a very dry, twisted sense of humor. I just made fun of you and you didn't even know it. Ha ha. In my head with this chart. This person may have been violated by his mother, so he might have it out for women. I would assume there's an abandonment wound, and then you marry your parents. So the first serious relationship, maybe the person got drunk, threw things at him, and caused injury, because there's trauma here. Relationship trauma. And I am not real comfortable saying stuff because Mercury in the sign of Cancer, it's initiatory. So I can be very convincing to launch. Come on, you should do this. And this does have to do with family. So this person might be a really good Gemini does not like going deep, so they wouldn't be a good counselor. Gemini does not like going deep. Gemini is a surface sign. Scorpio is depth. So this person is going to need some kind of therapy, talk therapy, because Gemini needs to talk. And his ruling planet is in water. So I'm sure, have you ever had a dream where you're trying to shout and nothing's coming out of you? That's what it's like to be in James's body. And so he's got pressure. There's pressure building up there. So he might all of a sudden just like lash out. Um, but this is it's pretty loaded. This chart is pretty loaded. And I would guess there's a large degree of anxiety. This person needs to learn how to cope. Who needs to learn? Oh, we didn't look at Neptune. Neptune is in the sign of Scorpio, which is psychic. Neptune is the mystic. It's invisible, god of the seas, in the sign of Scorpio, which not only is death, but it's the occult. So there's big underpinnings of psychic, intuitive, empath, but part of that empath got kind of like blurred because of that zero moon and enhanced with Jupiter in Aquarius, which is unfeeling. Unfeeling. It doesn't mean I don't care about you, but I don't want to hug you. I don't want to touch you. I have different ways of showing you my love. Please respect me. That is the nature of Aquarius. It is what it is. So maybe the drunk girlfriend came home and that's it's a Nickelback song, and I can't remember. Oh no, it's not. It's Dexter. What's the singer's name is Dexter. He was a scientist who became a singer. Self-Esteem, The Offspring. Uh it's 3 in the morning and she's ready to go. It's so having something like that happen and feeling compelled because I want to be nurtured, I want to feel something, but I don't want to feel something. So this person may choose to like hire prostitutes because they don't want that connection, but they need the connection, but they don't want commitment and they're afraid. And so there's a lot of things that how this can be expressed in a human being. And all of this depends on their level of consciousness, all of it. And so your level of consciousness, are you angry? Are you in a poverty mindset? Do you have resentment? And these are all things that we have to learn how to grow through. And we get stuck at different areas in there. And that's when we need to have someone to lean into as a support role, a support, somebody to model after, some kind of a support group, something. We need somebody who can tell us this is not a chain, a bondage. This is not a life sentence. You don't have to stay in the pit of despair or any of that kind of thing. And this person is a natural, if they are higher and if they're evolved, if they learn and they grow and they don't blame, then they're going to be a wonderful person that works in tandem well with other people in leadership. That's 11th house. They're a natural born psychic medium and a medical intuitive. Why? Because Virgo is health. Their past life is in 6th house health. That's Virgo's natural house. And their past life is in Pisces. And their big wound all covered up and shut down. Don't do any of that stuff. But I knew I saw the cancer in Louis's stomach, whatever. Don't talk. I don't want to hear it. You need medication, any of that kind of stuff. So this person is going to have a lot of heavy shit on top of them that they have to, if they want to graduate in this lifetime, question. Leave home where these belief systems are making me feel crazy. They're making me feel like I'm not even from this world. I need to go and find my own, says this chart. And then because the sun in the ninth house means they got to travel with people who speak their language, which the language is Gemini, ninth house is travel. But it's also law. It's also belief systems and philosophies. So James must get out of his neighborhood. He's got to get out of his own backyard, connect with other people who maybe shared similar traumas, who speak whatever the language is that he is interested in learning so that he can deep dive into his own psychology and heal. And when you learn how to heal, you are in a growth state. And that is it's forever. When you're growing, you're able to heal. When you're not growing, you're stagnant and then you spiral downwards. You're always spiraling because you are not static. Like your plasma, there's always motion. And so your thoughts impact you. If you have negative thoughts, now you're just going to kind of spin and that's kind of downward. If you're hopeful, then that's spinning upward. And then you find things on that higher resonance that come in and it's good stuff. All right. Now, let me pull up today because where we started today is about your own hibernation period. So here, the outer wheel, this is now what is happening currently. And when the sun, which is this red circle with the dot in the middle, goes into the 12th house, I'm jumping month at a time here. And now I look up here to the date. So when it's August, we want the same 28, that's 29. So one day before this, right there, right around this day, up here, August 21st. So right around this time, James might start feeling it a week before this day. He starts getting tired. He starts running out of steam. He starts maybe feeling some depression or melancholy or withdrawal. I need to get away. I need to take a retreat. I need to become recluse. I'm losing. My battery is about to be drained. That's what happens when the sun goes into the 12th house for everybody. But it's different based on the time that you were born and where the sun is. So every single year, you have your own cocoon season, your retreat, your winter, when all the leaves die off, and I need to just kind of go within and let myself fall apart. The caterpillar turns into goo before it comes out as a butterfly. And so I need to go in there and fall apart, which means there could be depression. And then what do you do to self-soothe? You want it to be something healthy, like going on a retreat, which I do, and they're very powerful. And I'm doing a heck of a lot more of them. Anyways, you can see that calendar on my website, suzy-woo.com. But when the sun is going through this 12th house, you run out of gas. You need to sleep more. You need to practice more self-care. You want to lean into sleep, dream, prayers, and meditation, the power of prayer. Things are coming to a natural ending, a natural closing. And up in the sky today, we have a lot of stuff that's actually in Pisces. And so things in our lives are coming to a natural end, a natural closing. Now, when is this for you? When does the sun go through your 12th house? Now, the great news, everything is temporary because you are not static. So we jump ahead. When is this going to end for James? 2 days before this. Oops, I think I did weeks. 19, so 5 days after this is going to be when the sun is on the ascendant. And that, 1 day later, here. So here's the sun, 24 Virgo, right on James's ascendant, 24 Virgo. And this is now, you have been on the charging, the docking station. You've been charged, you've been plugged in for a month. And now you're like, I'm ready to go. Woo, here I am. And so you wake up one day and you're like, you know what? I'm done crying. I feel better now. I'm going to go get a new hairstyle. I'm going to get a new wardrobe or a new tattoo. because that first house is your outer covering, how you represent yourself. You might even get a new car, because that's part of your packaging. So when the sun leaves this 12th house, your personal winter, you have your personal spring. And that's when you have new hope and you're ready to kind of get back into the game, hopefully better for it. And hopefully you didn't do things that you'll regret during when the sun was in that 12th house, because that is also our means of escapism. So this is when you might start, stashing the booze in the closet, or buying the extra ice cream, or whatever that escape, soothing, pacifying thing is. Maybe you just cannot get out of bed, but that's what this is for. It is for rest. It is for sleeping. It is not a time to be pushing and going because you're going to burn out or you're going to get sick. So you have to honor this. Whenever the sun is in your 12th house, you have to honor that, or you're going to suffer, because this is also a house of suffering. All right, guys. So we did it. We went a little bit over. My clock says 1:11, and I've been seeing that a lot. And maybe you have too. So super, super cool. Hope that has been helpful for you. And we will be back on. I am open to your suggestions. Send me an email if you like, you have an idea of what we can cover, and I will be happy to do that. Or we can look at your chart, see what's going on in your life, but I'll need you to be there to validate it. Okay, everybody. So I'm just going to sign you off with a great big hug like I always do. I love you a whole bunches. Please find me, follow me, like, and share that I exist. I'm a very, 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 very effective healer, medium, and reader, and I'd love to help you see how your chart, how much are you living your chart, or are you fighting? Are you fighting the current of your own chart? Again, it's not a life sentence. It's learning how to work and build and grow and evolve so that you can be the best version of you that you were created to be. And it is a lifelong journey, but just to be able to connect with who you are on an inward level and realize the belief systems you were raised with might not actually be your own, and you might not resonate with that. And with where we are now, the North Node is in Pisces, and that is a dissolution. It's dissolving. And so letting things come to a natural end, that's what's on the docket. That's what's going on. And making new commitments to yourself, that I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday. And don't compare yourself to others, because you're not them and they're not you. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.